In the RightShip inspection series, we'll learn the changes which have taken place in the way the inspections are to be held. So RISQ 3.0 we'll talk about. So welcome to the module 2, chapter 1 in the series. RightShip inspection. This presentation is based on the information provided by the RightShip and is for educational purposes of seagoing officers and the office staff of the ship managers ashore. So learn the course, enjoy it. This is about myself. You must know who is the person who is giving instructions. So as I was saying, learning has to be a joyful experience. It should not be a stressful one. When you feel like learning something, and finally when the outcome is pleasant, is good, you have increased your level of knowledge, you feel happy, isn't it? That's the way to go. So that's why enjoy the module. RISQ 3.0. What changed? What is RISQ? RISQ is nothing but Right Ship Inspection Ship Questionnaire. There was always a questionnaire which the inspectors were using to assess the vessel they are visiting. So has any changes taken place in RISQ? Yes, the changes have taken place. We'll learn those changes. Let us see what those changes are. This is the basic purpose of this course. What are the significant changes in the transitioning from RISQ 2.0 to RISQ 3.0? Right ship inspection ship questionnaire 2 to right ship inspection questionnaire 3.0. Right ship goal is to periodically review the documents and to ensure that the RISQ is up to date with the latest industry regulations and recommendations. Because industry regulation changes, rules changes, IMO comes out with new regulation, and the best practices with the industry is follows is keeps changing, keeps getting upgraded. So the RISQ wants to include all those things in the inspection criteria when their inspection visit the vessel. So that's why changes normally continue to take place. It's a continuous process. In the right shape, review process takes place actually twice a year. It's not necessarily that they will come out every year twice with a new questionnaire. So some minor changes, they will come out and send some circular or something. Minor changes can be taken care of other way around or sending the information to the inspectors. All right. But some of the major changes when occurs or they want to incorporate them in the questionnaire, then the new version is published. So now we have a new version that is RISQ 3.0, Right Ship Inspection Ship Questionnaire 3.0. That's why this course. So what changes have taken place? First change is the term non-conformity. You must have heard this term non-conformity many times, different contexts. Okay, and sometimes observation also. So this non-conformity is now they will not call it non-conformity, and they will call it a finding. So term finding will be used, not the term non-conformity. Whenever the RISQ or right ship inspection takes place. Okay. So what is a non-conformity which was earlier called non-conformity and now called finding? So a finding is a non-compliance with either the RISQ requirement or the industry recommendation, rules, regulation. What does it mean? In simple English language, it means a requirement which was there as per the, let's say, rules, existing HTCW rule, IMO rule, whatever rule, unclause or SMS, ISM code, MARPOL, whatever the rule existed. That's a requirement. All participants have to follow that requirement, or the best practice or recommendation of the industry, which is particular to the, let's say, bulk carrier industry. If it is not being followed on this particular vessel, that means non-compliance. You are not complying with the requirement. Then it becomes a finding. Any non-compliance with a stated requirement, maybe company safety management system also. If some safety management system has said that weekly so and so routine will take place, lifeboat engine, for example, but is not being done, so it's a finding. All right. So finding is a non-compliance with any specific requirement which is stated and not being followed. Okay. Second major change which has occurred in the RISQ 3.0 is there were allegation of bribery and code of conduct about the inspectors. Inspectors complain. So in the introduction part of the RISQ, engaging with the inspector code of conduct, specifically RISQ organization had made certain changes. By the way, this RISQ questionnaire is available on the RISQ website. You can download it, read it, go through it. It is better when you're doing this course or attending this course, RightShip questionnaire 3.0 is available to you. So you can correlate. All right. I have tried to correlate given the uh, requirement here in this module. But if you have your own, you can have it on the, if you printed copy, much better. Otherwise, you can refer, you can stop this in meanwhile 2 minutes and go back and read what the requirement is talking about. So you can read the introduction. Hmm? What it says. RightShip encountered a few problems related to code of conduct and allegation of bribery. That means inspectors were being bribed to get a favorable inspection report. So this prompted our RightShip to include a section titled Engaging with the Inspector Code of Conduct in the introduction to RISQ. And what does it mean? It means, let us see, required that the RightShip inspector adhere to the RightShip Code of Conduct and will uphold professionalism and integrity while carrying out the inspection. Any attempts to coerce or offer bribery at any point during the inspection will not be tolerated by the RightShip. If it is reported by the inspector that such and such thing had occurred, either he was being coerced, forced, or bribed, this will be reported to the RightShip by the inspector. So please note that RightShip inspector will report any cases of attempted coercion or attempts to manipulate inspection outcome. In these cases, the inspection will likely be deemed unacceptable. So all the time, money, resources, wherever will go waste. So ship manager should guide their staff that do not indulge in these kind of activities. Okay. Another major change which has taken place, review mm, review of what? Class survey status. Inspector to include later class survey status report along with the report. So how to go about it? So RightShip asks the inspector to include latest class survey status in question 2.1 for the internal review. What is the question 2.1? It question 2.1 says, is the latest class survey status available and are all statutory certificates listed in the class survey status valid at the time of inspection? And is the vessel free of condition of class, COC, condition of class, or significant recommendation? There is no recommendation existing, and are all classification and service status survey are completed and nothing is overdue? This was the question. So that's why the inspector will go through the class survey status report and mention specifically as any of these conditions are existing. So it is suggested If the certificates are kept electronically, the ship manager will give the access to the right ship inspector at least 48 hours, 72 hours before the due date of inspection. So the inspector can go through when he is before he boards the vessel, and he can prepare the class survey status report. So the less time will be spent by the inspector on the vessel. Okay. So the right ship requires that the PDF copy of the class survey status that was evaluated during the inspection will be attached with the inspection report by the inspector. Inspector to record finding if the vessel has any condition of class, as I have said, or any significant recommendation. So you specifically record that. If class service status report is kept electronically, it is expected that the inspector shall be given access to the report at least 2 days in advance to go through the report and thereby saving time for actual inspection. All right. So far is good, clear. If any question you have in your mind, you can write it, post it, and on the YouTube or wherever this channel is posted, I will answer. I'll reply in due course of time. Okay. Another change. Question 2.16. This was regarding to air conditioning. Since it is mainly related to the MLC and MLC is in force, so this question has been moved to section 1.5. That means 2.16 question does not exist anymore, and the same question has been moved to section 15, which is MLC related question. Question 2.16 regarding air conditioning system was related mainly to MLC, crew welfare, ILO. Uh, I- ILO was deeply involved in this preparing of this MLC. This question has been removed to section 15.14, health and welfare of seafarer. So instead of question 2.16, you check your question 15.14. The question is same but shifted, and is no more part of the section 2, which is related to certification and personnel. So they said it is not important to keep it in certification and personnel management. Is right place is MLC, that is section 15.14. And the question is, does the air handling AHU maintain a comfortable temperature, and is there recorded evidence of regular maintenance and cleaning of AHU available? So this inspector will verify this, and then as per the verification process, he will make a report. Just for your guidance, this presentation for educational purposes and not for commercial usage. However, you are free to voluntarily contribute to the curator and the author as a token of appreciation. That is myself, Sanjeev Mehta. Thank you. If you like to contribute voluntarily, this is my PayPal address. Okay, thank you. Another change was navigating officers' familiarity with radar. It's a question. Check the question 3.3. Emphasize importance of familiarity with X and S band radars. This is the requirement. Hmm. And what the question 3.3 says? In question 3.3, RightShip emphasize the importance of navigating officer familiarization with X and S band radars. Specifically, this question mentioned the officer on the watch shall be familiar with the difference between X band 3 centimeter and S band 10 centimeter radars, as well as their characteristics and limitations, such as the impact of different weather conditions on their performance and shallow and blind sectors. All right, because the both work differently and the requirement is different, their characteristics are different. The officer watch should be very familiar with the differences. So inspector will verify this at the time of inspection. Another changes was Guide to Inspection. So it has been revised, and the minimum VDR requirement has been removed. There was some confusion actually. So what exactly it means? Let us see. The guide to inspection has been revised to remove the minimum recording requirement for VDR because there are many feedback was coming to the RightShip and there was some ambiguity. So question 3.15 only require that the watchkeeping officer should understand and be familiar with the procedure for preserving records as required by the company safety management system. Company policy related to the playback of video data should be contained within the safety management system of the company. So ship officers will follow that whatever the procedure is mentioned in the safety management system. Playback of video data may provide a tool for analyzing the performance of the breach team. So the minimum recording, this recording, that recording, that has been taken away with. Only the ship officer are required to follow the company's safety management system regarding video data. Okay, simplified, simple, easy. So next change was the question 4.5. Guidance to question 4.5 has been modified, replaced, changed. That is the risk associated with the spaces adjacent to cargo spaces. All right. And what are the changes? Guidance. Guideline question 4.5. RightShip highlight the importance to risk associated with the spaces that are adjacent to cargo spaces. So RightShip says its importance must not be forgiven. Importance has to be given. Why? The fact is, solid bulk cargo classes materials hazardous only in bulk, that is MHB, according to Appendix 1 of the IMS BC code, may pose chemical hazards when transported in bulk, in addition to material classified as dangerous goods under the IMGU code. Okay, this is the fact. If the cargo's boundaries are not gas tight, it's possible. Combustible gas emitted by MHB cargo, that is materials hazardous only in bulk, may escape into adjacent spaces. Correct? So when a ship is carrying solid bulk cargo, the compartment housing the access to hold shall be designated as a confined space in that case. Okay. So it should be considered as a enclosed space, confined space. And the proper entry procedure must be followed. So this is important for welfare, safety of the ship's crew. The and the entry permit should have a clear period of validity that does not exceed 12 hours and remains valid only as long as the permit conditions are met. Of course, if permit conditions uh, are not being met, something has changed, the permit is become invalid. It should also state in the entry permit the maximum permitted time between atmosphere testing of spaces and when they are entered by the persons or re-entered by the personnel, as well as maximum time permitted between testing while the space is occupied. So there are two things that the when how the atmospheric test will be carried out when there are person entering into the enclosed space. Suppose which is not a normally enclosed space, but because of cargo carried in the hold becomes an enclosed space. So how the test will be carried out? How often will be carried out? And the maximum time permitted when the crew is still inside the space where that test has to be recarried. Atmospheric test has to be recarried out. So this has to be specifically mentioned in the SMS. It is recommended that this period should not exceed 30 minutes between testing and the record of these tests are maintained and these should be defined in the operator's company's safety management system. Very important. Okay. 4.7 guidelines. Importance of providing accurate details in hot pot permit. Yes. What is this? What does it mean? Let us see. 4.7 guidelines emphasizes the significance of providing accurate detail regarding the risk associ- associated with a specific hot work in the hot work permit. A hot work permit is being issued, is also always issued when a hot work is to be carried out. Now, depending on where the hot work is being carried out, the risks associated are different. Hot work is carried out in the forecastle, forward part, aft part, or on the deck, or in the machinery spaces, or in some near the hold, some other or gas where the bunker tanks are, many different things. So permit to hot work should be specific regarding to the exact risk associated with the specific hot work, its location, its timing, and the hazard which might exist. All of this must be considered and the risk assessment carried out. So permit to hot work should address dangers to all adjacent cargo or other flammable material that may be exposed. So it also should be considered what is the cargo in the adjacent hold, let's say, as well as the necessity for additional protective covers if required. All of these should be part of the hot work permit. Okay, just issuing the permit is not enough. These risks associated has to be considered and evaluated and mentioned. Inspection guide 4.10. What is this? Guide updated with instruction to review incident file on board. So question 4.10 inspection guide for the inspector has been updated with instructions to review the incident file on board. Let us see what is this. Most companies have a method of informing any incident, etc. Safety incident reporting investigation system. Sometimes they call it SIRIS, or whatever name they have given. But the purpose is a record has to be kept of all the incidents which have taken occurred on board the ship. So the question 4.10 inspection guide has been updated with instructions for the inspector to write to review the incident file on board. So such an incident file must be available on the board the ship. He will go through the incident file report, and if an incident had occurred but were not reported, that becomes a finding. Of course, now how the inspector will find that incident had taken place, but it is not reported in the if it is not reported in the incident file, there are other means. Logbook entry, some other or crew, when talking with the crew, it comes to know such and such an incident had taken place, but it's not being reported. So it will be a finding. Remember, so inspector shall verify the incident history of the vessel with the 24-month incident history provided by RightShip. Any incident that are not documented in the RightShip record shall be recorded as finding. Okay. So some of the reports are with the RightShip also. Okay. So remember this. Incident file must have all the recording of all the incidents which occurred on board the ship. Important note: near miss. RightShip does not classify near misses and NCRs. Now NCR they don't call it NCR, they call it finding. So RightShip does not classify any near misses and findings as incidents. They are not incidents, and they do not require the inspector report them as adverse findings. This is important. Note it down. If the inspector, because of his not being aware of this phenomena, this requirement, reported as an adverse finding, ship officer should, especially master, should object and bring it to the notice of the inspector that RISQ 3.0 does not need it to report it as a finding. Test requirement 4.16. The testing requirement has been updated for portable gas detectors. And what are the requirements which have been updated? Let us see. In question 4.16, RightShip clarified the bump test and calibration test and check requirement for the portable gas detectors and updated the testing requirement accordingly. So what are those requirements which have been updated? A bump test and or calibration check should be done on a portable gas detector before each day's use. So, and whenever you want to use it, before that, a bump test or calibration check has to be carried out. Obviously, according to the manufacturer instructions, instruction will also always be available. So, a calibration test shall be performed. Calibration test, not check. Calibration test in line with the manufacturer instruction, or when a bump test or calibration check fails. So, whenever bump test or calibration check fails, a calibration test has to be performed. So, bump test is a qualitative function check, only qualitative, not a quantitative. Whereas calibration test is a quantitative test utilizing a known traceable concentration of test gas to demonstrate that the sensor or sensor and alarms respond to the gas within the manufacturer acceptable limits. So got it? Whenever bump test or calibration check fails, calibration test has to be performed. Ship's officers must be aware of this. Otherwise, question 1.416 will be reported as a finding that is not being followed as per the question 4.16. Another question regarding two-way radio for firefighting. The question is 4.30 and it has been revised according to a new guideline. And what are the new guidelines? To ensure the efficacy, means that it works as required. That is called efficacy. To ensure the efficacy of the portable two-way radios used in firefighting, RightShip has revised question 4.30 and its corresponding guidelines and requested that the radio's efficacy be evaluated by the inspector. So inspector will evaluate the efficacy, not the efficiency, efficacy, that it works as required and proves it. When possible, the inspector should evaluate the effectiveness of the two-way radio communication equipment provided. Okay. Inspector shall record a finding if there are insufficient intrinsically safe two-way portable radios for the number of fire teams which are listed on the muster list. Muster list, let's say there are four teams, but there are only two sets, not enough. Or if wearing a fireman's outfit and breathing apparatus hinders the firefighter's ability to operate the radio while fighting a fire, then also it become a finding. Okay, all the inspections actually are good for seafarers. So you ensure that these things are working. You have a good working two-way radios. Question 8.18 for monitoring the temperature of coal cargo. Question 8.18 alternate method for monitoring the coal cargo has been included. And what is that? The inspection guide of 8.18 has introduced and included a requirement for an alternative method of monitoring the temperature of the coal cargo. We know because of emission of carbon monoxide, the temperature of the coal cargo increases. So because coal self-heats as a result of carbon monoxide emission, measuring gas concentration is regarded to be more reliable technique to check for self-heating than measuring temperature. So if you want to measure the temperature, you will measure temperature of the specific area only. But if you measure the concentration of the carbon monoxide, which in turn give rise to the rise of temperature, because this is actually the cause. The cause of higher temperature of the coal cargo is the emission of the carbon monoxide. So if you measure the gas concentration of this gas, carbon monoxide, in turn you will know the temperature of the coal cargo. Correct, no? So before measuring gas concentration, the whole ventilation should be turned off for 4 hours. If carbon monoxide levels are greater than 50 pm or have been rising steadily for 3 days, you measure every day. You measure. The cargo may be self-heating. In this case, ventilation should be shut off and ventilation opening sealed. Very important. Correct? To remember this point also. Actually, all points you need to remember. Best is go through this course before any inspection and make some notes and follow them. RISQ 3.0. 8.25 gas-free certificate for fumigated spaces. A new version of 8.25 for greater clarity. What does it means? Remember, section 8 will be different for different types of cargo you are carrying. If the grain cargo is carried, the question will be different. Question 8 2.5 in this case, will refer to grain cargo only, not let's say coal cargo. Grain cargo, the requirement of a gas-free certificate for the fumigated space has been clarified in the revised version of question 8.25 to provide greater clarity. Okay, so gas-free or gas clearance, sometimes they say. Normally, gas-free is more common term. Gas-free certificate issued by the International Maritime Fumigation Organization (IMFO) member at the discharge port declares the area safe for workers to enter a fumigated space and or handle a fumigated product must be available. All right. If you carried the grain cargo and the now grain cargo, uh, a certificate has to be issued available by the IMFO member at the discharge port so that the crew, if required, can handle and enter into the space. Otherwise, they will not enter. Okay. 9.20 crane. Inspection guide to 9.20 has been updated. What are the updates? Let us see. Thorough review was carried out of an incident which had occurred on one of the ship on the crew cabin, crane cabin. On the basis of the review, the inspection guide of 9.20 was updated, and it includes now a requirement for the crane cabinet inspection. The inspection of the crane cabinet structural integrity should be included in the PMS as per the new inspection guideline 9.20. So this inspection has to be part of the company's safety management system and must be included in the plant maintenance system for the vessel of this particular vessel or whichever which is being inspected. So inspector will check the scheduled inspection as per the PMS has been carried out or not carried out. So machinery of a crane includes, of course, all electrical control equipment and system, all motors, hydraulic oil pump, filters, coolers, and winches together with winch brakes and control gear, limit switches, cutout switches, and other pieces of equipment. All of these should be part of the plant maintenance system of the vessel. Okay, so the inspector will verify when checking the question 9.20 that all these checks has been done and recorded periodically as per the plant maintenance system, whichever the time period, 3 months, 6 months, or whatever. Okay. 3.0 question 10.23. Question 2.23 and its inspection guide has been revised. So what is question 10.23? Check it up in the list you are having. You are having no questionnaire. Are you having? If not having, get it again. Keep it with you. Okay, and read the question 2.3. It was a specific requirement proposed by the Rio Tinto, one of the investors in the RightShip organization. Rio Tinto proposed to include the towing requirement of the ship having deadweight of 120,000 or more. Therefore, the question 10.23 and its inspection guide have been revised to include the towing requirement as proposed by Rio Tinto. Pilbara Port Authority requires all vessels deadweight 120,000 or more to have at least one set of bits and Panama lead, roller, fair lead on the vessel's aft deck at or near the center line to be rated to a minimum of 120 tons safe working load. so that if any time is required, vessel can be towed away. So you can read it. Other requirement, question 10.23, other requirement can be read and are given in the questionnaire. That's why I'm saying you keep the questionnaire with you, and along with this course, keep reading the question and make notes. All right. Question 12.7 and has been changed again. So question 12.7 and its guidelines have been updated. It's based on the industry feedback which RightShip was receiving. So let us see what are the changes which have taken place. Question 12.7 and its guidelines have been updated on the basis of feedback received from industry sources. These guidelines refer to cyber security policy and the need for it to be part of ship safety management system. All right. So basically, what it means that all ships, all companies will have a safety management system with a cyber security policy in their uh, safety management system, for which is to be followed by the ship staff for this uh, for the particular ship. RightShip urges vessel managers to create a robust cyber security management system to avoid and reduce cyber threats to their ships. This system should undergo an operational, technical, and physical review in accordance with the industry standards, with an official document attesting a state or level of accomplishment. All right. So earlier the requirement was that it has to be class certificate or something. So there is no mention of the class now, because industry send the feedback that is class term is not required, that it has to be class certified. The requirement is that there should be a cyber security management system, a policy, and which should be it can be reviewed by any technical or the which has been followed in the computer industry, for example. Okay, so that is good enough. So that's why the term class has been eliminated. There is no term class that is not has not required to be class certified. Okay. Again, the inspector makes a mistake and mention that is not class certified. This is what you can refer, that it has been changed. There is no requirement. The term class has been removed for this policy. 13.28 steel plates. Inspection for guide for question 13.28 has been has been changed. Inspection guide for question 13.28 has been updated or changed. It is known, actually, many incidents have been reported worldwide of different types of ships, where the steel plates kept either on the deck or the machinery spaces, incidents have taken place. So in this case, this prompted RightShip inspectors or RightShip organization the inclusion of inspection guide for the question 13.28 and emphasize on the significance of proper storage and management of spare steel plates. So whenever the steel plates are stored in the machinery space, in this case machinery spaces, the proper management has to be carried out. What does it mean? That they do not come out loose in case in the rough seas, for example. So these renewed guidelines implore the ship's manager identify the dangers, hazard in handling this operation, and also for the welfare of the crew. Now, damage to the machinery must be protected, also the crew, including the development and implementation procedure for the storing, securing, and manual handling of the spare parts and steel plates. Okay, the manual handling of this item must only be performed after formal risk assessment has been carried out by a trained and competent individual, mostly master, chief engineer, first engineer, second engineer, using the company's approved form, ensuring that the records are kept in compliance with the procedure. This is important. So these steel plate storage requirement safe. There are two safety aspects. One, if they come out loose, eh, they damage some machinery. Second, second is when the crew is handling the steel plates, storing them, hmm, or if they come out loose and some crew member gets hurt. Now, you know what is tile? Learn about tile. Tile you can find out from the RightShip website, write tile, and you will get the instruction what does the tile means. This is important for the welfare of the ship's crew. Hmm. All responsible officer, chief officer, second engineer, first engineer must know what is the meaning of tile. Okay. Another question. 14.14 inspection guide. Revised inspection guide question 14.1. 14.1. It include biofoul management. Biofouling. Hmm. What is that biofouling? That is seabird. What is biofouling? It is a requirement that the ship's hull is kept clean. So inspection guide 14.1 talks about ship's hull clean, free of significant corrosion, extensive coating breakdown. There's no coating breakdown, and marine growth is not there. Now includes a requirement for biofouling management also. So the vessel should be provided with effective, environmentally safe, and practical biofouling management procedures that are based on industry recommendations for in-water cleaning of the ship's hull to reduce the spread of invasive aquatic species. Because some species, not only the ballast tank, but they may be carried along with the ship. Right? So the vessel is required to maintain a biofouling record book in which all inspection and biofouling management measures are recorded. So it is important that all vessels have this biofouling record book, which will be verified, checked by the inspector. Okay. RISQ 3.0. 14.10 portable cargo lights requirement has been updated, changed. So all ship staff must know what the requirement has been changed. This portable cargo lights, cargo clusters as they are called. The inspection guide for 14.1 for portable cargo lights requirement have been updated for clarity. So that, and this requirement was there earlier also, but now they have made it so that the requirement is clear now, clearly understood. There was some ambiguity earlier. The purpose is to provide clear instruction to the inspector as to when he should record a finding, or if what the requirement is. If ship staff is following that, then there is no requirement for a finding to be noted down. Hmm? Okay. What is it actually 14.10? So inspector must report a finding if the lamp holder, drip shield, and shade of portable cargo lights are not non-conductive. So they should be non-conductive. If they are not, it will be a finding. Do not isolate the crew, or if they are, that means if they are non-conductive, they should be able to isolate the crew from electrical shock hazard. If they do not isolate, that's a finding. And have a voltage greater than 50 volt AC or 120 volt DC, then again it's a finding. This means a touch voltage of 50 volt AC, frequency can be any up to 1000 hertz, or 120 volt DC for long duration, more than 3 seconds, should not be exceeded in healthy adults, otherwise a life-threatening condition may occur. So these need to be checked by the inspector. Okay. Point 1, 2. The language of the question has been altered to make it little more clear. Language of the guidelines to the question 14.12 is the, what is 14.12 is the paint locker, battery room, oxygen and acetylene room, and other flammable lockers and storage spaces, ventilation system, explosion proof lights, and other fittings in good working order, has been altered to provide greater clarity and understanding. Okay. It's now because now they have mentioned it is applicable to ship constructed on or after 1st January 2007 only. So older ship this is not applicable. Remember this. So no electrical equipment shall be installed in any space. This is the requirement now. No electrical equipment shall be installed in any space where flammable mixtures are liable to collect. For example, in compartments assigned principally to accumulator batteries, in paint lockers, acetylene room, stores, or similar spaces. Unless the administration is satisfied that such equipment is essential for operational purposes of a type which will not ignite the mixture concerned, appropriate to the space concerned, and appropriately certified for safe usage with the dust, vapors, or gases likely to be encountered. So this requirement is applicable to ship after 1st January 2007 only. This has to be kept in mind by the inspector and the ship staff both. 15.1. So question 15.1 has been revised to MLC requirement, ITF requirement. As I had told earlier, question this section 15 is about MLC. What is the requirement? Collective agreements established by the ITF can prescribe the salary and working conditions for all crew and flags of convenience vessels, regardless of their nationality. Ship may belong to any flag, Tuvalu, Vanuatu, whatever, Honduras, whatever. All vessels covered by an ITF approved agreement receive a certificate denoting the agreed upon salaries and working conditions. If the vessel is covered by any form of ITF agreement, green card, blue card, or collective bargaining agreement, and if most ships are using CBAs, the inspector is not required to assess the crew contract for conformity with the ILO pay rates. So, if the vessel is covered by any ITF form of any form of ITF agreement, inspector will not bother because he will feel that condition has been taken care of or it meets the ITF requirement. When the vessel is not covered by any form of ITF agreement, inspector shall randomly check to verify if the seafarer's pay is in accordance with the ILO's minimum recommended wages. Then only. So understood. What it means is if there is an ITF agreement, then inspector will not bother to go into detail. But if the vessel is not covered by any form of ITF agreement, inspector shall randomly check to verify the seafarer's pay is in accordance with the ILO's minimum recommended wage scale. Question 15.5 Drinking water. Some changes have taken place here. Hmm? Question 15.5 Significance of free drinking water. Drinking water is, of course, important. So the inspection guide for question 15.5 emphasizes the significance of providing free drinking water. Ship owner or ship manager must not charge any money for providing free drinking water and using potable water. There is a difference between drinking water and the potable water. Inspectors were instructed to record a finding where the water on board was not potable or the crew was charged for drinking water. Okay. Requirement to check free drinking water is accompanied by other requirements of proving adequate healthy food to the crew. This is also to be kept in mind. Crew should be aware of this. Section 15, MLC related. A new question added to section 15.13. A question added was 15.13. What this question is? A new question 15.13 and guide for inspection to this question has been added to section 15, that is MLC related, to meet the requirement of asbestos free and help the inspector in identifying and reporting any asbestos related findings. So this is a new question. Remember, the ships should verify this also. Section 16. Introduction of Section 16 has been updated. What has been updated? So, introduction of Section 16, ice or polar water operation, has been updated to offer more precise instructions on how to determine if the ice-related question is relevant to the particular vessel or not. So, the inspection shall be completed only if the vessel meets one or more of the following conditions. This is for ice or polar water operations only. An ice class notation was assigned to the vessel, or the vessel is or intends to navigate in an icy area, or the vessel is in possession of a polar water certificate. Then only section 16 will be completed. That is ice or polar water operation. If these conditions 1, 2, 3 are not met, there is no required to go through the section 16. Okay. So now we come to the end of this course. For more information, you should refer to the RightShip platform, the website, and a lot of information are there. Videos are available. I encourage you to go through all the videos as many as possible. Mm. If possible, I will try to put some of the videos here. Mm. So if you have any question, you may write to the RISQ rightship.com. They will reply you. Mm. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the course.